Okay. Hari Om, everyone. So I'll start off with the prayer, and then we'll get into my presentation. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So today, my talk is about Sandhyavandanam and Gita chapter 6. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we go forward in my talk, just a quick audience snap poll. So here's a question, and you can answer it, and we can just probably count. So what is the gender of the God we pray to in Sandhyavandana?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You want us to answer, or you want us to make a note of it or something?
You can just type it in the chat, and we can probably count it. Someone can count it and say at the end of the poll. We are only 7 of us or 8 of us today.
I don't know.
Alpana, would you be able to monitor the chat and let me know?
So I said female former, Gayatri Mata. Yeah.
Actually, the question, I think, could be all three too, right? Like, there is the
Sun god as well. Yeah.
Devata, sun god is male. Then there is the Gayatri Mata, the Chandas, and you pray to Savitri Devi, that could be female. And then there is the term that's like referred to the Atman in neutral gender. So it could be all three.
Brilliant. So, okay. So,
Contacts, I'm going with number 4.
Okay, cool. That's good. That's a good start. That's a good start. At least we figured out something at least. That's good. Okay, so let me get to my slide, right? So first of all, I'm grateful to all the gurus who have initiated and taught me this.
What's the answer, by the way?
And also the practice that I'm following. And I must say that, I triggered this practice off because last year during Chaturmasa, Sakuba was determined to do this for the entire Chaturmasa. And I picked it up from him, and then I started doing it myself. And it's been about 7-8 months that I've been fairly regular, I would say. And then I realized that, there's a lot of connection between what Sandhyavandanam as a spiritual practice is, and especially chapter 6 of Gita that we are reading today, that we just completed. So I said, okay, why don't I combine these two things and present as my summary revision for chapter 6 to all of you. So popularly, you would see that the Gayatri Mata, the feminine form of Gayatri, is presented in a particular picture, like what you would see here in this slide here. She has 5 faces, and I just want you to notice this symbolism here, because we will be talking about the symbolism as we go through the talk here. So she has, some of the few things that I kind of, want you to notice. She has 5 heads, and notice that all the 5 heads are of different colors. And she has a moon on her one of her head, and she has 3 eyes in each of the heads, and she has 10 hands, each hand holding something, or in a particular mudra that she is. And finally she is sitting on a lotus. I want you to please keep this in mind as we go through this presentation.
So quick question, the third eye is?
One second, let me get the third eye. Can you see this is the third eye? Yeah.
Or the Divya kind of Chakshu or something, yeah.
Yeah, Divya Chakshu. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So that is Gayatri Mata. Okay. That's the symbolism what we would see in most of the time. Even if you Google for Gayatri Sandhyavandanam, you will get an image like this or a different kind of an image. But typically, this is how you would see it. Now, in this talk, what we will cover and what we will not cover, I just want to make sure that I clarify this so that we don't go off track. So I'm not going to discuss the mechanics of how a Sandhyavandanam ritual is to be done. And neither am I going to discuss what is the right method, what is the right sequence of the ritual that we should do and all that, because each one follows their own traditions. And whatever that you follow in your own tradition is the right ritual for you, is the right method. So there's nothing like, this is the only method that you need to follow. And third thing is, I'm not an expert on Sanskrit. In fact, I have zero knowledge of Sanskrit. So we will not get into the nuances of the language, but we will get into some words. And if you're familiar with a little bit of let's say Devanagari script, I'm pretty sure you'll really appreciate some of the aha moments that I've had. But we will coming back to what we will cover. We will cover what is the Vedantic perspective of Sandhyavandanam, and how are chapter 6, the Atma Samyama Yoga, which are also known as Dhyana Yoga, and the Sandhyavandanam, how are they related? And I'll talk about my personal moments. And of course, I will also, share my mistakes and incorrect interpretations. And some of them I may know, I will share with you. Some of them I may not know. So I may be sharing some mistakes also in this particular talk, which is solely attributed to me and me alone. Okay. Questions and answers. So please keep it to the end of my talk, or you can type it in the window, and then we will discuss these questions after the talk. Okay. So the format that I'm going to follow is I'll go through the sequence of Sandhyavandanam that I follow, and I'll explain the purpose. Okay. And as I do this, I will chant the mantras. So pay attention to the mantras, because I will chant the mantras in a way that I'll emphasize a few words in Sanskrit, and I'll explain that to connect it with chapter 6. I hope that's good with all of you. Okay. All right. So let me quickly get to the chapter 6 and summary. Okay. So 6.23, what Bhagavan says, 6.23, he says that Tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga samyitam sa nishchayena yoktavyaha yogo nirvinna chetasaha. Okay, so he says that the severance from the union with pain is yoga. So you got to first sever yourself from the union with pain that we normally have. That is yoga. And he says that this yoga, this severance should be practiced with determination and with a steady mind and undespairingly. Okay, that's the explanation what Swami Paramarthananda gives in that. So effectively, it's a two-step process. You got to sever from oneself and then attach yourself to something else and then practice that. Okay. Now, the word yoga comes in there, and we've discussed this multiple times. Who is a yogi? Yogi is someone who has controlled his mind and senses, knows what his goal is, and he strives towards it. So it's a very important distinction. Someone who has controlled his mind and senses alone need not be a yogi, but the person should know what the goal is. Okay, and they should strive towards it. So what is the goal? And if you look at on the right side here, what is the goal? If you imagine this Ratha Kalpana model of from Kathopanishad or even the Gita, see, we've been given this body and the reins and the 5 horses as to drive this body, and there's a charioteer, which is our intellect. But do we know what our goal is? The goals can be anything. It can be artha or kama only, or it could include artha, kama, and dharma and moksha. So the question is, who is this person who is driving this chariot? And is he driving only on the artha kama road, or is he or she understanding that there is an artha kama and dharma and moksha as well? And then are they driving towards that particular goal? That's the key question. So what are the prerequisites to be yogi and to do dhyana, which is the chapter 6 topic in terms of Atma Samyama Yoga or Dhyana Yoga? First of all, Bhagavan goes into great lengths to say that the body should be in control, the senses should be in control, the mind should be in control, and intellectually, the person should have understood the difference between Atma and Anatma, which is basically the basic knowledge of Vedanta. So effectively, if you were to slice and dice a human being or any being, one should be able to theoretically say that there is an entity within our own self, which is conscious, which is ever present. We should have that theoretical understanding. Okay. And the yogi, the person who has all control on his mind and senses, the person should do dhyana on that entity, that Atma within ourselves, which the scriptures, the Upanishads also say is Brahman. So there is no difference between the entity within ourselves and the entity that is known as Brahman, which is the universal entity. So in the macro and in the macro, there is no difference. So what is dhyana? So in chapter 6, when Bhagavan talks about, so effectively, the way that I have understood dhyana is, there is a theoretical knowledge that we have. Okay, there is an entity within me that is Atma. Now the intellect theoretically understands it, but the intellect has to be trained regularly on a constant basis to move beyond the theoretical understanding of knowing to being Atma. That is dhyana. And that can come in only one way, which is we need to contemplate on the Vedantic teaching, which is Nididhyasanam is what we would call it. So we have to contemplate on the Vedantic teaching. And Vedantic teaching is very simple, Tattvamasi. And when a guru says Tattvamasi, we have to understand it as Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. So that's what we have to understand. And how do you contemplate on it? And now stepping back, Swami Paramarthananda says this. So if first of all, if you are able to break up the slicing and dicing of a human being into Atma and Anatma principles, now it's very clear that the Atma within us does not need any training in itself, because Atma is already. Okay, Atma is, and it's just that the Anatma part of our body-mind complex that requires the training to associate itself with the Atma. So effectively, if you ask me, for whom is this dhyana that we need to do regularly? It is for the Anatma in ourselves. And what is that Anatma? Is it the body or is it the mind? The answer is, it is not for the body, but it is for the mind. Okay, and within the mind also, that particular faculty of our mind called as intellect, which is able to distinguish between right and wrong, which is able to make decisions. It's that part of our body that we're training to go beyond theoretical knowing to being Atma. Okay, and then obviously this is very difficult. So in 6.35, to a question by Arjuna, Bhagavan says, Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Gruhyate. So he says that mind is difficult to control and restless, no doubt, but it can be controlled by Abhyasa, practice, and Vairagya, dispassion. And Vairagya, why is Vairagya important? Just quick summarizing it here for you. So if you are on the goal of Artha and Kama only, Vairagya is going to be very, very difficult. But if you have figured out that there is a goal beyond Artha and Kama, which is known as Moksha, which is inclusive of Artha Dharma and also Artha Kama and Dharma, then you are actually training this chariot to go towards the right goal. And over a period of time, this chariot will start with the Abhyasa. This chariot will start developing certain Vairagya, dispassion towards Artha and Kama, because you will start seeing them as trinkets in your entire journey towards getting that beautiful necklace of moksha. Okay, diamond necklace, I must say. Okay, so with that, I'm getting into the process of Sandhyavandana that I follow. So on the right side, I have written up what is the meaning of each of these things. So you will see the format is, you'll see a number here, and this is a section, and then some notes that I've written here, either to aid me or to aid you to understand what it says. So we start off with the mantra. We basically use water as a medium. Okay, and we say apavitra pavitrova sarvavasthan gatopiva yasmaret pundari kaksham sabbahyabbantara shuchihi. Pundarikaksha, Pundarikaksha, Pundarikaksha. So it says that basically, Sarvavasthan means all, and you notice that I've underlined some of these sentences here, right? So I'm going to focus on some of these words here. So even if I'm pure mentally or physically, or even if I'm not pure, okay, and doesn't matter in what state I can be in 6 states of existence, right? If you know the 6 states of existence of a human being, doesn't matter whether I am extremely weak and I'm tired, I'm having fever, I'm having disease, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, or I'm able-bodied or whatever, it doesn't matter, and whatever is those stages in that we follow through, it does not matter. Okay, we use water to purify ourselves mentally and say that whatever is the impurities that I have within me, both at the body level, at the mind level, I use this water as a medium to purify myself first. Okay, and then be ready to do the practice. That's what it says. And remember, water is just a medium. You can use any medium, but typically water is the most abundant resource available. Then we use water, and then since it's a medium, question could be, okay, so I take a shower, then why should I just keep doing Sandhyavandanam? The point is this. The point is, you take a shower, you clean your external body, but how do you clean your mind? So you use the water and you use the medium, the purifier, which is the Pundarikaksha. Pundarikaksha is that entity within the entity that we will talk about that a little bit. So Pundarikaksha is that Atma within yourself that you seek, you pray to, saying that purify my mind at this point of time to do this work, whatever that I'm doing. And then the next part which goes to is, then you do 24. You pray, you touch 24 different parts of your body by saying a particular mantra each. Keshavaya Swaha, Narayana Swaha, and all that stuff. And then finally you end with Sri Krishnaya Namaha. So if you do count those numbers, right, from Keshavaya Namaha all the way to Sri Krishnaya Namaha, there'll be 24. And one of the interesting things that I learned is that Gayatri Mantra has got 24 letters in Gayatri Mantra. So there is some sort of a connection, and I've still not been able to figure out what that connection is. I've listened to multiple lectures, but I've not been able to figure that thing out. So, but the good news is that there is a connection somehow. And then you go to the third part, which says, Uttishtantu bhuta pishachaha, ete bhumi bharakaha, ete shama virodhena, brahma karma samarave. Okay, so basically what we are declaring at this point of time is, it's a brahma karma. It's like when you're eating food, we say this Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagno, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaivatena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samarabhe. So it's the same Brahma Karma Samarabhe here, which says that I am eating this food at this point of time, but it's not for me that I'm eating it. I'm doing this like a sacrifice. The same thing is applicable here. It is not a selfish activity. It is not for something that I want materially for myself. The person who is doing Sandhyavandanam is declaring at this point of time, saying that they are doing a karma, which is Brahma karma. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. So then the mind has to be brought into focus to do what you're supposed to be doing. So you do what is called as pranayama. Pranayama in this case is very, very simple. The way that I know some of you have this question about what should we do in pranayama, when to hold breath and all that stuff. So there is a longer version of Gayatri Mantra, which goes as follows, right? Okay, it says Om Bhuhu, Om Bhuha, Ogum Sugava, Ogum Soha, Om Ahaha, Om Janaha, Om Tapaha, Ogum Satyam. That's one part. Tatsavitur Varenyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yonav Prachodayat. That's the second part. Om Apo Jyoti Rasom Datam Brahma Bhut Bhuva Swaro. This is the 3 parts that we have in Gayatri Mantra. And here, basically, pranayama is basically, you breathe in, you retain the breath, you breathe out, right? So you breathe in during the first part, which I've highlighted here in this color in a box here, and then you hold the breath in this part. Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yonav Prachodayat. And then you release the breath through the other nostril. Om Apo Jyoti Rasomritam Brahma Bhur Bhuva Swaro. Okay. Now, the interesting thing that I've noticed, which we'll talk about a little later, is, all of us know this. People who've been doing yoga and pranayama. you know that when you do pranayama, it brings your mind to control. It brings your mind to focus. But beyond that, there is this word that I have highlighted here, dhimahi dio yonaha. So although I don't know any Sanskrit, what I understand is that the word dhimahi, which is the verb form of the word meditation, to meditate, the verb form of it, and is actually in plural. It is not in singular. So remember, the person who is doing it is a singular person in our mind, but the person is praying in plural. Okay, that's a very, very important distinction that I'll keep talking about this. And same thing, dio yonaha. Dio is basically again the word diyaha means intellect, and the intellect is not for the intellect who is praying, who is doing that Sandhyavandanam ritual. It is our intellect, it says. That's why this word dhimahi, which is the to meditate, is in plural. Okay, and so basically at the end of the day, you are praying for a collective intellect. You're praying for the collective intellect to become better than what it is in some fashion, which we will discuss that going forward. Okay. And then the most important part, we go to the point number 5, is again a declaration. Okay, purpose. For anything that we do, we need to have a purpose, right? So the purpose is, in this case, like what you would see here. Okay, it says mama upata samasta durita kshayadvara. So it says that whatever is the entire sins or impurities of the mind that I have earned, okay, in the past could be right from the time that I'm born, or the millions of births that I've taken in the past, okay, human births that I've taken in the past, because in other births you can't do any sins. So whatever that I've taken in the past, I want to purify all of them at this point of time, and then I want to, there is no selfish desire, okay, and then it goes on and it says that, Shubhe, and I know Krishna, you had this question, you wanted me to explain this, so I'm going to take a minute to explain what this sankalpa means, right? So it says Mamo Pata Samasta Duritaksha Dwara, Sri Parameshwara Uddishya, directed at the Parameshwara, Sri Parameshwara Prityartham, to please the Parameshwara, Shubhe Shobhane Muhurte, in this good day time, Sri Mahavishnu Paranyaya, by the order of Mahavishnu, Pravartamanasya Adya Brahmanaha. So now from here, Adya Brahmanaha, till this part, okay, Shubha Nakshatra, Shubha Yoga, Shubha Karana, Evam Guna Visishtayam, Shubha Tithau, okay, till this time, till this part, what it explains is, it explains the time and space construct, where you are in time and space. And then you are able to lock yourself in that time and space and say that I am this particular individual who is doing this karma at this point of time. And you look at cosmic time in this, okay? What is the cosmic time? Look at this. So in the cosmic time, it says, Adya Brahmanaha means like in the current Brahma's time. We know that the creation and destruction is a cyclic process. There's a Brahma and the Brahma creates it. And then there's a final destruction which happens. And again, a Brahma creates it in his day and all that stuff. We know that. Okay. Then it says that the Brahma is in the Dvitiya Parartha. Parartha is 10 to the power of 12 Brahma years, right? Human years. So Dvitiya Parartha, he's in the second half of his life. The life of a Brahma is supposed to be 100 years, and he's in the 51st year at this point of time. And there's a day, each day is known as a kalpa, and the kalpa is called as Shweta Varaha Kalpa. So imagine if the 51st year of Brahma and the particular day out of the 300 days or 365 days of Brahma, there is a particular day of Brahma called as Shweta Varaha Kalpa. The name of the day, just as today is known as a Sunday, it's known as Shweta Varaha Kalpa for Brahma. And within that Shweta Varaha Kalpa is divided into 14 equal parts. And that is called as a Manvantara, okay? And the current Manvantara, as what you would see here, is known as Vaivasvata Manvantara. And within that Manvantara, that is split into multiple Chatur Yugas, okay? Chatur Yugas is basically the 4 Yugas that you have, right? Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga, the 4 Yugas that you have. Then you say that, Vaivasvata Manvantare, Ashtavimshin Mahayuga, 28th Mahayuga. So this is the 28th Mahayuga. that you would see. And within that, you say that within that, you know that you are in the Kali Yuga at this point of time. And you are in the first half of Kali Yuga, because the Kali Yuga has got about X number of years. And from the time of Krishna's, moving on from this mortal earth, it is roughly about, 5,500 years. Okay, so it is still in the first half, because Kali Yuga itself is 4.32 million, 432,000 years. Okay, and then it says Krauncha Dvipe. Krauncha Dvipe is where I am right now, which is the Pacific coast, and Bharatavarsha is related to the lineage that I come from, and Indra Khande is the Pacific part of the side, and Meroha Paschatya Digbage. So it's, the Meru mountain is known as the center of the universe. I am to the west of that, and Sri Shailasya Paschatya Desa. Similarly, when anchored as the Sri Shaila, the Pradesha, I am in the right side of western side of that. I am by the Prashanta Samudra Tira, which is by the Pacific Ocean, and Kapilaranya Pradesha. Kapilaranya is California. Kapilaranya Pradesha. I am within my home, Swagruhe, and Samasta Devata Brahmana Harihara Sannidhav, Guru Charana Sannidhav, in the presence of the entire gods and goddesses, and in the lotus feet of my Guru, I am doing this karma. That's what it says. Okay, and then that's the the space where I am in, and then it goes on, and then you break it down into the Vyavaharika Chandramanena Prabhavadi Sashti Samvatsranam. So similarly, the cycle of time repeats once in every 60 years. Okay, so the names of the Hindu Samvatsras repeat once in every 60 years. So right now, for example, we are at a Samvatsara known as Shubhakrut, and Shubhakrut comes in once in every 60 years. So there's a cycle of that. And then all of us know that we have this in a cycle. There is a Uttarayana and Dakshinayana, the way the sun goes north and south. So right now we are in Dakshinayana, and then the seasons which repeat as well. So right now we are in Sharad Ritu, which is the fall season, and then you are in Kartika Masa right now, and then Shukla Paksha or Krishna Paksha. Right now we are in Krishna Paksha. Krishna Paksha is a waning phase of the moon. So in a couple of days we will get to Amavasya. And from that Amavasya onwards, the month changes. And then that's a cycle. Sorry, I'm going a little bit more detail because it is very important for many other people to understand this. So I'm explaining this a little. Okay. Then you declare what day it is. Today is Bhanuvara. And then you say Shubha Nakshatra on this auspicious occasion. Shubha Yoga, Shubha Karana, which is basically related to astrology. Astrology has got, Panchanga has got 5 Angas. Nakshatra, Yoga, Karana, and a couple of more. I forgot what it is, Sthiti, I guess. So on this day, you again say that, I am praying for pleasing the Parameshwara. Okay. And then you say who you are. Then you say Sriman, Srivatsa Gotra. That's a Gotra, the lineage that I come from. Rajesh Namadeha. Rajesh, I declare who I am. Then they say, Aham Prata Sandhyam Upasishya. Then that means I'm saying that I am doing this person who is in this time and space construct, I am doing this and I belong to this particular Gotra. That's all this Sankalpa says. Okay. Now, then again, you purify yourself, and I'm not going to go into the details of this. So basically, the thing that what you should remember is Tana Urje Tadatana. Urja is energy. So you're asking the waters to give you energy in strength in your sense organs, and the energy to nourish your mind. So basically, the yogi is asking that the person who's doing Sandhyavandana is asking for strength of sense organs and the mind, because the person has to be strong enough to go through this life's difficulties and keep themselves strong to take care of all difficulties in life. Okay. And if you look at it in 6.28 also, Bhagavan says that in chapter, the yogi engaging the minds freed from sins enjoys the infinite bliss. So you have to engage your mind, and for you to engage your mind should be disturbance free. And for you to be disturbance free, you don't have a choice but to start praying to a higher principle to make sure that they are not affecting you, irrespective of what the life situations are. Okay, so that's this part. And then you take a little bit of water again, and then this is a very interesting story. Okay, So then you pray to the sun god, okay? And the prayer goes something like this. It says that Suryascha ma manyuscha manyupatayascha manyukrutebhyaha papebhyo rakshantam. Rakshantam is to, save me, right? Papebhyo, save me from all the sins. And you're praying to all these entities to pray you from the sins, okay? So who are the entities? Let's talk about this. Surya is the sun god that you're praying to. Ma manyuscha. Manyu is anger, okay? So you're praying to the principle called as anger, saying that don't make me angry, okay? Then Manyu Patayascha, you're praying to the principle of the anger's father. Who is anger's father? Anger's father is desire, Kamaha, okay? Kamaha, Krodaha, okay? Krodaha is the son of Kamaha. And then you're praying to the son of, or the children of Manyu, Manyu Krutebhyaha. The moment you're angry, you do some things that you would end up regretting later. Okay, so what you're saying is you're praying to all these principles, okay? The Surya principle, which is shining up in the sky, the anger principle, the desire principle, and the outputs of the desires. All the things that you're praying for, and you're saying that whatever sins that I have committed, please protect me, okay? And then it goes on to say that Yat Ratriya Papa Makarasham Manasa Vacha Hastabhyam. That means whatever, and assuming that we do this in the morning, you're saying that whatever in the night that I have done, either in my thoughts or in my speech or in my actions, okay, I am asking that principle to forgive me for those sins that I have committed. Okay, and then it goes on Padbyam Udarena Sishna, okay, which is feet, the sexual organs, all. If you have done anything wrong, you are seeking forgiveness for that. And then Yat Kincha Duritam Mayi, whatever that I have done in the past, all through my millions of births, please forgive me when I'm doing this Sandhyavandanam ritual. Okay, then you say that now purified so far, okay, theoretically purified, Surya Jyotish Juhomi Swaha. Swaha is an offering that you offer. So what it says is that after purifying myself thus, I am offering myself by doing this Sandhyavandana at this particular point of time. That's what it says. So think about this. There's absolutely nothing. There's nothing religious about this at all. It's so beautiful. It says it's all about the individual who is doing it. At the same time, it's not about the individual who's doing it. That's the dichotomy that we need to resolve. Okay. And similarly, Sandhyavandanam has to be done thrice, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. Similarly, when you're doing it in the afternoon, you use a different mantra, which is here. Similarly, you pray to Agni in the evening, who is like a representative of sun god. Okay. And then again, you do this purification mantra, which is the same as what we described here. Okay. Now, this is an important part, and I'm not going to go through the entire detail. So basically, this set of mantras here, the next set of mantras, basically ask for a lot of physical and material benefits, okay, for the body-mind itself. Because remember, the person who's doing it is the body-mind who's doing it, okay? So a couple of things that I want to highlight here, right? Let me probably not go through this mantra except for one part. And so if you go through this mantra, it says, Surabhi no mukha karate. Okay, Surabhi is, good smell. Okay, so basically, the way that you need to interpret this is when I speak, my words should be beautiful. My words should be nice. Okay, and then Jishno Rasvasya Vajinaha. It says, hey, Bhagavan, you are ever victorious. Jishno is ever victorious. Ashwa means horse. And you have to ride as fast as a horse to come and give me all the benefits that I'm asking here for. Okay. And what are the benefits that they're asking? There's a huge list. Okay. You got to purify me. And then, you got to give me a strength in my arms. You got to give me strength in my mind and all that stuff. You keep asking all that stuff. Okay. And then you use the water as a medium. And then you say that the water, then it goes on to say that, water is a medium in which the Brahman was born. You remember with the deluge, when we read in Puranas, the deluge happens. And then Brahma is created and the Brahma sees every deluge and all that stuff. So water is the source. And the water need not necessarily be the water that we normally used to. It can be heavenly waters and all that stuff. But think about it as waters. Okay. And then, let me just get to basically basically this mantra says that the waters nourish everything in this universe, right? And then it says it accepts that there is a bondage that I have as an individual. Drupadadiva munchatu, Drupadaadiven mumuchanaha, swinnas satvi maladiva, putam pavitrene vajyam, apashundantu minasaha. So basically what it says is Drupadadiva. Drupada means, of course, we all know Drupada, Draupadi's father, but Drupada also means two-legged. Apparently, in the olden days, there was people were chained at the thighs, okay? If they have committed a huge crime, they were chained at the thighs and they were tied to a pole, okay? And that was the crime, that was the punishment given for people. And it was heavy, thick chains. And those chains, releasing yourself from those chains is very difficult unless someone comes and unlocks the particular thing, okay? So Drupadadiva Munchatu, what the person who is doing Sandhyavandanam is saying is that because of Raga Dvesha, I am stuck like that at this point of time. Okay, I'm struggling and I'm kind of sweating it out. Okay, and my body and mind is sweating big time, but I'm not able to get out of that particular situation that I'm in. Okay, therefore, waters, please help me get out of that particular Raga Dvesha and get out of that particular samsara so that I can realize who my true nature is. Okay, so that's the beauty of this particular thing. So effectively, it's an acknowledgement that yes, we are not pure enough to get what we are looking for in our goal, but through daily practice we can get there. Okay, then you do pranayama, and then you do what is called as Arghya Pradhanam. This is one of the most important aspect of Sandhyavandanam. Arghyam is water, Pradhanam is you give waters. So basically, what you do is you say this Om Bhurbhuvasuva Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. You say that thrice, and every time you offer water to the sun god. Okay. Now, when you do this, what exactly are you doing? Okay. Why does the sun god need the water? A small 1 spoonful of water from you. A small guy somewhere sitting in some place, in some corner of the earth, and the sun god is responsible for everything, including the water that you are using. Why does he need that? Actually, it's not the sun god who needs it. Okay, but this is where the Indian way of storytelling comes into play, right? So what it says is that actually Sandhya time is the time when there is a little bit of calmness in the entire atmosphere. Now, when there's a calmness in the atmosphere, the human mind can either tune into that particular calmness, or it can tune into something that it wants to do, which can be selfish. Okay, so effectively, Sandhya time can be used for both. Now, typically, what happens is that if someone is not doing some sattvic activities, the mind is able to scheme deliberately, definitively into something what they would want for selfishness. That's why they say during the Sandhya Kala, you have to pray. Okay, you have to do some japa, whatever they say that. So effectively, at that point of time, so there are apparently some Rakshasas, and those are called the Rakshasas, the selfish desires or the outcome of the selfish desires that we think of during that Sandhya time. So what they say is that these Rakshasas, the desires or the scheming, what we would do, they are classified as Mandehas. And Mandehas is a clan of Rakshasas within our own mind, which come up during that particular point of time. Okay. And then you say, you use the symbolic representation of water, and when you pour it and offer it to the sun god, you are telling the sun god, hey, shine this light onto this set of Rakshasas within my mind, put them in the corner of a mind. So effectively, this Mandehas, Rakshasas basically go into an island called as Mandeha Island. Okay. And they are put at rest there temporarily for some time till you do this Sandhyavandana, and then so that they don't disturb you. Okay. That's the beauty of it. So that's so powerful. I really, really found it so powerful. Okay. And then goes on, it says that, then this is another shloka which says that after you make your Mandeha Rakshasas in one corner of your mind, they don't trouble you anymore. Then you say, Udyantamastam Myantam Adityam Avidhyayan Kurvan Brahmano Vidwan Sakalam Bhadramashnute Asavadityo Brahmeti, Brahmaivasan Brahmapyeti, Yayevam Veda means the Vedas declare, Asavadityo Brahma. Okay, that sun god is Brahman. The Vedas declare. And remember, the person who understands that there is an entity within ourselves, which is beyond the minded body that we see, understands and accepts what Vedas say. Therefore, if the Vedas declare something saying that this is the sun god is Brahman, basically you accept that it is the sun god is that divine Brahman that is the source of everything else. Okay, so then you recognize that Brahman principle and you start praying to that sun god in that Brahman principle. Okay, and then you offer waters again to the sun god, right? And then now you please that sun god, the physical sun god, by offering waters, just as the sun god has risen up in the sun. Just as, let's say, you're expecting an important person in your life to come home. As soon as the person comes home, what would you do? You offer them all sorts of things so that they're comfortable and all that stuff. So sun god is your guest in your universe because he's risen up in the morning. So you offer him some waters to please him, right? That's what it says. Now, the next one is, then this is the most important thing in Sandhyavandanam. In fact, Sandhyavandanam, people mistake that Gayatri Japa is the most important thing, but there is another important thing, which is Asavadityo Brahma Saham Asmi. So if you remember in the previous section when I explained saying that Asavadityo Brahma, where it says, let me just go back to the previous section for a second. Okay, Asavadityo Brahma. Okay, basically here you acknowledge that the sun is Brahman. Okay, and then after you have pleased that particular Brahman, you come back and say Asavadityo Brahma Saham Asmi. I am that Brahman too. We acknowledge that the sun god is Brahman and we are also Brahman. Okay, this is Advaita. There is no difference between sun god and that principle within me. There's no difference between what is the one that shines the sun, and there is no difference between what is the one that shines me. There's no difference. That's what it says. Okay, and then this is the Nirguna Brahman prayer, right? But it's very, very complex thing to understand. How can you visualize something that does not have any property, that is everywhere? It is very, very hard. Even if we ask someone, okay, where is space? We will say, okay, space is within this room, but is it the space within the room? Is it not within the walls? Is it outside the walls? Is it not outside the walls? But the point is the space seems to have been captured within the walls. Therefore, we are able to acknowledge that particular space. So if the space itself is difficult to grasp for us, okay, and someone who created the space, how can you grasp that particular principle or entity? Unless and until there is some sort of a representation, and through representation, through symbols, through gross symbols, through subtle symbols, you progress one step forward towards no symbols, right? That's what it is. So what it says is that the principle of Brahman is represented by a word called as Om. Omityekaksharam Brahma. Okay, and then it goes on. It says everything. Okay, now it says the purpose of you doing this particular Asavadityo Brahma Saham Asmi is to recognize the divinity within yourself and within the sun and this entire universe, right? So Viniyoga is the word in Sanskrit which is used to say that purpose. So remember, I told you, we have to know the purpose of everything what we do. So when you say Om Ityekaksharam Brahma, when you pray with Om, after you say this Asavadityo Brahma Saham Asmi, what you're asking for is you're saying that I am going to use Om as a symbol to become one with Brahman. Sa Yujyam Viniyogaha. That's the purpose, what I have. Okay. And then, if you remember, then you say, then you instantiate so far, remember, I'm kind of, changing tack a little bit. So far, you remember, we've been praying to the sun god, the Pratyaksha, the real sun god, and then we have been saying that there's no difference between sun and I. And now you invoke that particular entity within yourself. And how do you invoke? You invoke by identifying and putting certain characteristics to that particular entity so that you're able to meditate within your body. Okay? So you say that Ayatu Varada Devi, now you're putting a feminine form to this sun god. Okay, Varada Devi. Okay, you are the one who's going to give me boons. Aksharam Brahma Samhitam, Gayatrim Chandasam Matedam. So you're invoking that particular entity in Gayatri Chandas. Okay, Chandas is a meter in which you say that. Brahmachishastame, Yadannat Kurite Papam, and you're asking, saying that whatever papas that I've done, get rid of all those papas and all that stuff. Sarvavarne Mahadevi, Sandhyam Vidya Saraswati. Now you're asking for some benefits. Vojosi, Sahosi, Balamasi, Bhajosi, Devanam, Dhamanamasi, Vishwamasi, Vishwayus, Sarvamasi, Sarvaya, Ravipuram. So you are actually praising the Lord, that sun, saying that you are shining and you have a lot of patience and you have strength, and then you have multiple things like this, right? Now, when you praise someone, saying that, oh, you're so wealthy and all that stuff, at the back of your mind, what's happening is either, I want to be wealthy, or I would want him to share his wealth with me. You're so knowledgeable. Oh, okay. Why am I saying that you're knowledgeable? I'm saying you're knowledgeable because I want you to share your knowledge with me. The same thing is applicable here. You are saying, you're praising the Bhagavan, saying that you've got all this stuff, and thank you. And you don't directly ask for it, but you indirectly ask for all those things to be transmitted to you as well in this thing. And then you're inviting Gayatri, Mavahayami, Saraswati, and all that stuff. Okay, you do that, and then you okay. So here, so it says basically, Chaturvigam Shatyakshara. That is 24 aksharas. Okay. Om Bhurvosva, Tatsaviturvarenyam, Bhargo Deva Siddhimahi, Deva Yona Prachodayat is 24 aksharas. Now, Tripada Shat Kukshihi. Okay, Tripada, I said there are three padas, right? That is the three phrases. That is the Tripada. Shat Kukshihi. Shat is 6. Kukshihi is stomach. Okay, apparently the Gayatri Devi, that the picture that we saw there in the beginning, has 6 things in her stomach. What are the 6 things, right? Okay, and if you look at it, we'll talk about that a little later when I come back to another symbolism. And then Pancha Shirshopane. All of you remember the picture that I showed, that there was a 5 Panchas, the 5 faces. What do those 5 faces symbolize? Okay, the 5 faces symbolizes 4 Vedas and Ramayana and Mahabharata. Okay, so the epics plus 4 Vedas. So the 4 Vedas plus Ramayana and Mahabharata is symbolized in that Gayatri thing. And remember the word Viniyoga. Okay, Viniyoga is the purpose. So by stating this entire passage here before doing Sandhyavandanam, what you are asking is, you are asking for a use of the purpose of understanding this 5 things: the Vedas, the 4 Vedas, and the epics. Okay, so it's a purpose to train your intellect to understand what these Vedas mean. That's what it means. Okay, let me move forward. Right, then again you do pranayama, and then basically Apo Jyoti Rasomritam Brahma Om Bhurvuvasvaram basically says that Panchabhutas is Brahman, everything is Brahman. Okay, and then again Parameshwara Buddhishya, basically selfless purpose of japa. You remind yourself, and then you get to a point where you instantiate. Now you call that sun god in the form of Gayatri, and you call that Brahman in the form of Gayatri that you visualized, and then you are instantiating that Bhagavan within your own body. And there are 2 ways that you instantiate. You instantiate within the fingers of your hand, and you also instantiate on different parts of your body. I'm not going to go into details, but one interesting that I noticed is, if you want to traverse vertically with me here, right? Okay, look at this. Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra. Okay, you're instantiating these 3 principles: creation, protection, and destruction principles within yourself. And then you're instantiating 3 more principles: Satyam, Jnanam, Sarvam, or Anantam. Okay, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. So you're instantiating these 6 principles within your own body. And remember, these principles are just but a part of that Brahman, right? Similarly, on the right side, you instantiate these 3 plus 3, 6 principles on your entire body. There are 6 different parts of your body that you do it. Okay. That's called nyasa. That part of it is nyasa. So now what has happened so far in the whole process of what we've been doing is that we have found that there is this sun god who is bright and shining, who is a form of Brahman. We have acknowledged that we are also Brahman, and we are bringing that sun god in the form of a feminine character and instantiating within our own physical body. Okay. And then we have to start praying to that particular entity, which is the next part of Sandhyavandanam. Now, this entity now is within your body. It's in different parts of your body. Okay. Now you have to praise that particular entity so that you recognize who that person is. Okay. Then the first one, I just want to talk about only the one thing and leave the rest, right? Mukta vidruma hemanila dhavala chaye mukai trikshanaihi. It says that Mukta vidruma hema. Count. Okay. Mukta vidruma hema nila dhavala. 5. Okay. Chaya is the color. Okay. So each of these 5, these are all pearls, different types of pearls. So maybe this is not a very good representation of the 5 different faces, but apparently these Mukta, Vidruma, Hema, Nila, Dhavala, these 5 faces are these 5 colors, right? And Mukai Tikshanahi. And then it goes on to describe Shankam, Chakram, Madharavindam, you would see all those descriptions out there, right? And then they're from here, Sumukham, all the way till Supratishta. What you're actually doing is, you are instantiating 24 mudras. Mudras are basically some sort of a sort of a lock kind of a thing, let's say, okay, that you lock that particular Bhagavan within your body, and there are 24 different mudras to instantiate that Bhagavan within yourself. Now, remember, there are 24 aksharas in Gayatri. So basically, what you're doing is you're using the mantra, Gayatri mantra itself, as an aid, as a tool to pray to Brahman, because it's very difficult to understand Nirguna Brahman. Impossible to understand Nirguna Brahman because you have to be Nirguna Brahman. So you need an aid, and the aid is Gayatri mantra, which is 24. And then you lock that Gayatri mantra within your body, and then you start praying. Okay. And what is a prayer? The prayer is very simple. It says, Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Okay. Basically, it says that Om is that representation of Brahman, okay, which transforms itself into Bhur Bhuva Swaha, the 3 worlds, okay. Tatsa Vidur Varenyam. That entities is bright and shiny. Bhargaha, Devasya, that entity, Devasya, that Bhagavan's Devasya. Bhargaha is the brilliance, okay. Dhimahi, we pray. I'm repeating this once again. We pray, okay. Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Actually, this is what is the most important thing. What are we praying for? We are praying for that entity to stimulate our intellect to understand who Brahman is. That's all it says. Or to say, put me on the right path to understand Brahman. So effectively, this is nothing religious. This is asking for better intellectual sense. That's it. Okay. And then you repeat this 108 times. And why repetition? The answer is very simple. When you repeat something, you start learning things better. You start being things better. So very, very simple concept. Okay. Then you go through again and all that stuff. And, I'm not going to go through in detail. I'm already overshooting my time. And then after you've completed the Sandhyavandana, you recommit the entire benefits to Bhagavan. Etat phalam sarvam Sri Parveshwararpanamastu. Okay. And then now the sun, you start praying the sun, and the most important word is mitraha. Okay. Mitraha is friend. You pray to the sun god as if he's your friend, and you are asking him to give you the truth of Brahman to you, like the ghee goes into the fire. Okay, when your ghee go into the fire, it just kind of just gets absorbs into it. So you are asking, you're praying desperately to give you that thing so that you can actually absorb and become the Brahman as like a ghee flowing into the fire. It's such a beautiful analogy. I loved it actually. Then you start praying to the various directions. In our religion, the directions are also principles. Okay. Because if you say, it's very difficult to find out, we can say north, south, east, west, and all that stuff. But then, where does the direction end? It's impossible for anyone to say where the direction ends, right? And is it a real direction? It's a direction relative to you that it is something is north. But is it really north for somebody else? It may not be. It will not be. So effectively, direction is quote unquote undefinable. But you pray because that's a principle, and you pray. And you pray to the rivers because of water and all that stuff. And then you pray to the Sandhya Devi and all the Devatas, Rishis, and everybody. And then you kind of, then you start acknowledging the principle that everywhere Bhagavan, and you see the Bhagavan within yourself, and you acknowledge everything. So you see this, right? So Shivaya Vishnu Rupaya, Shiva Rupaya Vishnave. So, whether you pray to Vishnu or Shiva, it really doesn't matter. The Shiva's heart is Vishnu, Vishnu's heart is Shiva. So basically, it's to remind you of that principle that Brahman is everywhere, and that Brahman, you are able to pray within yourself in the form of Gayatri Devi, and that is the same thing as a sun. Okay, and then finally you say all this prayer, and then you say Sarvadeva Namaskara Keshavam Pratigachati. Okay, so whichever God you pray to, whichever entity that you pray to fire, you pray to water, you pray to direction, you pray to Agni, whatever, it doesn't matter. Everything goes to Keshava. Who is Keshava? Keshava split as Kaha, Aha, Isha is a sum of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, which is nothing but Nirguna Brahman. And then after you've done all this prayer, now you have to release this entity within yourself, asking her to go back so that you can continue with your day-to-day work. Okay. Then you pray to her saying that, please go back to Meru, which is in the center of the universe, protect the entire universe, and come back when I invoke you again back to the same process. Okay. Then you say that's what this mantra says here. All right. And then from Narayana Upanishad, this is a very important thing. And for people who are into, Raja Yoga will really enjoy this and understand this. There's this beautiful thing, Mahanarayana Upanishad, it says, Namosthanantaya Sahasramurtaye, Sahasrapada Kshirorbahave, Sahasranamne Purushaya Shashvate, Sahasrakoti Yugadharine Namaha. So basically, when you're brought in that particular goddess within your body, what you've done is, you remember the lotus, the goddess was sitting on the lotus, right? Now, apparently the heart is like an inverted lotus bud, like this, okay? And you are instantiating that Bhagavan within this particular lotus bud, okay? And you are saying that this Bhagavan is Ananta and Sahasramurtaye. It's actually millions of heads, right? From the head of an amoeba to a head of a crocodile to an elephant to your head, my head, everything, okay? And millions of feet. Okay, so basically you're acknowledging the grandiosity of this entire universe as being a form of Brahman, okay? And then you are instantiating that within your heart region, because you need an anchor to meditate upon that particular principle. That's the beauty of it, okay? And then Sarvabhuta Nivasosi Vasudeva Namostute. Again, Shloka 6.31, I've kind of given some references to the shloka in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, is that, Sarvabhuta Nivasosi, Bhagavan is in everywhere. He's also within me. So I pray within myself because it's easier for me to pray here, right, than everywhere else. Then after you've done that, then you declare who you are. And this is where you start tracing your gotra, right? So basically, the rishis, we apparently, there are 7 sages and all that stuff. And from the 7 sages, all the entire lineage, the entire human clan came through and all that. We probably, people who have read itihasas will understand that. So I come from my gotra is Srivatsa gotra, and I come from a rishi lineage known as Bhargava Rishi. If you remember, this rishi has this a third eye in his feet, who kicks Vishnu. I come from his rishi lineage. Bhargava Chavana Apnavana Aurva Jamatagnya. From in that rishi lineage I come from, and I declare to Gayatri Devi that this is my lineage and I have prayed to you, therefore give me the benefits what I'm asking for. Okay, and then you conclude by saying that Kayana Vacha Manasendriyeva Buddhyatmanava Prakrute Subhavat Karomi Yadyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayana Yati Samarpayami. Again, remember, I am doing this Sandhyavandanam not for me, it's for Narayana. Parameshwara Arpanamastu. And then you dedicate everything to the Parameshwara. I'm going to take a pause, take a breath, drink a little water, and then connect this to chapter 6.
Awesome, Rajesh. Brilliant.
Okay. So, thank you, Subbu. Let me just finish. I've got just two more slides, okay? So, in chapter 6, Yogi should do Dhyana and Atma equal to Brahman. That's what chapter 6 says, okay? Manas Samyama Matchittaha, it says. Asavadityo Brahma Sahamasmi. That's what we use as the mantra in Sandhyavandanam. Okay. And Gayatri Devi is invoked in one's heart and we meditate on her. And it's a Saguna Upasana because Nirguna Upasana is almost impossible because you can only be. You cannot do any other way of Upasana, Nirguna Upasana. The best you could do is Om. Okay. So what is it? It is intellectual purification to yoke oneself to the concept that one is Brahman. I hope it was clear for you, at least. Hopefully, you saw some sort of understanding when I tried to explain that. Now, who is yogi? Someone who has controlled his mind and senses. Shlokas say that. Okay, 6.1 to 6.14. Sridhar's nice way of describing NCC shlokas, right? Okay, explaining how to sit, etc. So this takes about, Sandhyavandanam takes about 60 to 75 minutes end to end, if I do it properly. Okay, if I do it improperly, I can do it in 5 minutes. Okay, and I wake up in the morning in the Sandhya time, which is like, Sandhya time is also defined at a particular time, roughly 48 minutes before sunrise and 24 minutes after sunrise within that particular period. So think about it, irrespective of where I am, whichever time zone I am in, if I am supposed to do Sandhyavandanam, I have to tune myself with a particular discipline to wake up with the sun god so that I can welcome him as a guest into my life. Okay. Doing it at a predetermined time. So that's body and sense control. I have to sit for 75 minutes, okay, roughly. I have to take care of making sure that the senses don't go helter-skelter. Pranayama. And then how can I wake up? Very simple question. How can I wake up consistently every day if I am not moderate in my eating, sleeping, recreation, and exertion of my physical and mental energies? I have to do this. Otherwise, there is no way that I can do my next day Sandhyavandanam. Impossible, right? Okay. This is an appointment with Bhagavan. 0 interruptions entertained at that point of time. Senses are shut down. Okay. Repeated pranayama. There are five times that I do pranayama and purifications with water that I bring the senses and mind back to the task at hand. What is the task at hand? Just to ask Bhagavan to give me the right intelligence to understand Bhagavan. Seeking Bhagavan's help to overcome anger, desires. We all know Kama, Krodha is so difficult to overcome. Okay. So you request Bhagavan every day to give you this strength to overcome the Kama and Krodha. It's an inbuilt mechanism in Sandhyavandanam. And Gayatri Mantra itself is a request for the divine force to sharpen our intellect. The responsibility is not with you. The responsibility is with Bhagavan. When you pray to someone who is superior principle, that principle takes charge of your life. Okay. Now, what are the prerequisites to be a yogi to do dhyana? Body in control, senses in control, mind in control, intellectually and theoretically know the difference between Atma and Anatma. I hope with this short talk that I gave you on Sandhyavandanam, you've been able to recognize that all these things are a check mark. Okay. Dhyana. Dhyana is training the intellect to move beyond the theoretical knowing to being Atma. I hope you understood how we are doing this, the mechanism of doing this. And in 6.35, which Bhagavan says Abhyasa and Vairagya, Sandhyavandanam is Abhyasa. 3 times you're supposed to practice. And I must admit, I try my best to do it only once. Okay. I tried really hard to do it twice. Impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to happen sooner or later. I have to just basically align myself properly to that exacting standards. And then it's also Nishkama Karma. I'm not asking anything for myself, although I'm likely to get many of them as byproducts. Okay. Health improves. Focus comes in. All those things will happen, but they're all byproducts. So my personal takeaways, and this is my last slide, I promise you. Okay. The practice has built discipline in me. Wake up at 4:30 a.m., shower, chant chapter 2 every day, do Sandhyavandana, only then do anything else. It's a simple sadhana. It's an integrated capsule of Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Raja Yoga. Okay. Vision of unity. Respect for all Panchabhutas, especially waters, because without water, no one can dream of life. Understanding unity in the cosmic scale of operations, not at the sustainability kind of an operation that the United Nations and everybody talk of. It's a grand cosmic scale. Understanding that appearance of diversity is because of flickering mind. So there's only one God. But when we see this diversity, it's because of this flickering mind. Understand that. And pranayama. Doing this pranayama has improved health and focus. So with that, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to say that the sadhana, direct Brahman, leads you to the direct Brahman, which is the Pratyaksha Brahman, which is the Surya Bhagavan. And for Dhyana purposes, you instantiate that Surya Bhagavan in the form of a feminine form within your own heart. And then you progress towards Nirguna Brahman meditation. That's Sandhyavandanam for you.
Awesome, awesome, Rajesh. Excellent. I'm so motivated to hear this talk, and so blessed to hear this talk, I should say. Thank you very much, and please keep us enlightened.
Wonderful talk, Rajesh. Very nice. Enjoyed it.
I think I overshot my time by almost 30 minutes, but I hope that it was useful.
Worth every moment of it. Yeah, every word of it.
Yeah,
Thank
great introduction, Rajesh. I am totally ignorant on. I was totally ignorant on this. So great initiation.
I have a question, Rajesh.
Go ahead.
I mean, where did you pick this up? Because I have been wanting to understand, but I never had the chance to do it. I mean, didn't really focus too much, but this is really amazing. I mean,
yeah, no, that's a great question. I'll share the links what I have on YouTube. But just to give you a genesis of this, right? I listened to Swami Paramarthananda's Upanayana, the CD talk, way back when my son was hardly 5 years or something, and then it took me about a year to kind of something clicked in my mind and say that I have to get his Upanayana done, right? And we got his thread ceremony done at the point of time. But then, obviously, never got onto my mind quite a bit and all that stuff. But in the last couple of years, 3 years back, I wanted to learn Vedic chanting. And then my guru said that, first of all, he asked me, have you got the thread ceremony done? I said, yes. Okay, check mark number 1 done. 2, do you do Sandhyavandanam? I said, no, I don't do Sandhyavandanam. He said, first, you have to learn that from me. Only then I'm going to teach you Vedas. Then I learned it from him. Then still I did not do it. But the last 6 months, last year Sakuba did during the Chaturmasa. This year I said I'm going to do it. So from April, May onwards, I've been doing it. And, I realized that it's such a powerful thing that I need to do. So effectively, these are all multiple people who helped me out. I'll share all the links and then you can go through it and you can enjoy learning this.
Yeah. Actually, it is said that anybody who does Sandhyavandana, at the right age and 3 times a day for life, attains moksha, right? Yeah. So it's a very powerful thing, but obviously, I'm far away from it right now. But just to say one more thing, the Sandhya Kala is supposed to be a very important Kala. That is the morning, the night to day, then the noon, and then the evening. So as people who are brahmacharis and grihasthas, etc., we're expected to do 3 times a day. It's only the 4th is mentioned for people who are taken sannyas, apparently. The midnight 12 o'clock. So that's the other time that they use normally for chanting and dhyana. So these 4 aspects of time is supposed to be very, very auspicious. And the 4th one is recommended for the sannyasis. And just to add one more thing, one more point which I made a note of, and I think I shared it with Krishnan right now, is that I think on the concept of space and time, right? Momopata samasta dhrutakshidvara Shri Parameshwara Pritirtham Shubhe Shobhane Muhurte, whatever, right? And I think you explained it very well. It itself is a big lecture in itself. And I think I'll share the link because I think Dushyant Sridhar, who's also a Bitsin, I think he's done a very nice, narration of that. It's about a 18-20 minute kind of a video, but it gives you the concept of space and time, which gets, incorporated in any of our religious ceremonies. So that's the other point I just thought I'll tell you. Yeah, that's it. I'm sure you know it, but just thought I'll share the link. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Rajesh. Very enlightening. The first time I'm hearing an explanation of the Vaishnavite Sandhyavandanam, and I was just exchanging with Krishna too offline. I mean, I wouldn't say it's different, but the purpose is the same, but beautifully explained. Thank you. I wanted to attend this talk more as a motivation to do it properly. So thank you for that. So starting tomorrow, you're heading, as Subbu says, towards moksha, far away again. And only point I believe is you need tremendous abhyasa, because if you say your improper Sandhyavandanam takes 5 minutes, we Shaivites have mastered it in 2 minutes. So please do more abhyasa to get to our level of efficiency. But thank you for this.
Actually, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that, mantro mein main hu Gayatri, right? So it's actually got a very special significance for all of us. Yeah. I have some questions, Rajesh, like other people finish. I'll ask you later. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add one thing on the word, so Swamiji explains it. The word Sandhya means conjunction, right? It means joining the two. So the 3 times that you do, night joins with the day, previous day joins with the second half of the day, and then the day becomes the night. So that's the 3 Sandhya columns, roughly 6 a.m., 12 noon, and 6 p.m.
Yeah, growing up, I always understood Sandhya as evening for some reason. That might be a Hindi thing. So Rajesh, you mentioned, you talked at some length about, your ancestral lineage and Gotra, etc. So does everyone need to kind of do that to incorporate that into the Sandhyavandanam of what they do?
No, it's typically, typically it comes from tradition, right? People who have taught you, the dad would have told the next generation and all that. So I don't think so. But typically, if you know it, you say it. If you don't know it, you just let it be. So the way, fortunately, our scriptures are so forgiving, right? Only if you know, if you don't do it, it's a sin. If you don't know, if you don't do it, it's okay.
Okay. And then you mentioned it's a 75-minute thing, right?
Yeah.
Which for a grahastha, to do 3 times a day is not straightforward.
I agree with you, and that's why I'm also struggling. At this point of time.
And are there sort of this may be for anyone here. Has Swami P done a series on
Yes.
Sandhyavandanam?
That's what I'm going to share after this talk. I'm going to share the YouTube video of Swami P, so you can listen to it. And for people who know Telugu, I can also share another link. That's an amazing link as well, and you should listen to that as well.
Okay, I'd love to kind of hear Swami P. Of course, I relate to him. So
Yeah.
But, okay, thanks.
There are no questions. I'd like to share one thing about the Gayatri Mantra. So in the Sanskrit channel, Uday Shreyas, he does an amazing job of explaining the individual words and the Sandhi and everything. Yes. I strongly recommend that video. But very briefly, the split of each word was very nice. So it's Om, Buhu, Buvaha, Swaha, Tat, Savituhu, Varenyam, Bhargaha, Devasya, Dhimahi, Yaha, Naha, Prachodayat. So that's the words, how they are individually split. And then once you do the Anvaya Krama of it, and then he has it in a very nice question and answer form of starting with Dhimahi, we meditate upon, and then you go through it. It makes very nice sense. So before I chant the Gayatri Mantra, I do this Anvaya and then this individual word split, Krama, padam, and then you say the meaning, then it like registers in a very, very nice way. And then once you do the japa, you're not thinking about all these things you do only on the sound. But before you do the Gayatri Japam, when you do this split, it is very nice. So the Anvaya Krama will go something like Dhimahi, we meditate upon the highest form of brilliance. Tat Bargaha, Savituhu Devasya. Then Yaha Prachotyad, so it may propel us and raise us, Naha Diha, our intellect. So it may raise up. How do you want it to go? Buhu Boha Swaha. From the gross body to the subtle body to the causal body, or like from the lower planes to the highest plane. Then Om. Om is the universal truth, everything. Yeah, so that's the way that the whole thing is split. One more interesting thing is also that it has 24 syllables, but some people say it has that Savitur Varenium. So then it becomes 24. Varenium, if you say Varenium, then it becomes one syllable short. That's called Nishchrit Gayatri Chandaha. So it's 23 syllables. And Om and Buhu Buha Swaha are not part of the Gayatri Mantra. So Tatsavitur Varenium, one pada, and then Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat are the three padas with 24 or 23 version, however you say. And then in Sandhyavandana, you do the Nishchrit Gayatri Chandas, which is 23 syllables.
So, if there are any questions, let me know. I can try my best to clarify.
I just had one question. I just wanted to understand a little bit more on the three padas and the six. You had said Ashtanga something. Yeah. I've heard of Chandasa Mata and Gayatri and all that, but three padas and six, whatever you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
I just thought I'll take an explanation on that.
Yeah. So if you look at the three padas, right? Let's talk about the six things first, right? So the science of the entire Vedas, right? Apparently is split into is into six components. One is called as Siksha, which is a science of proof of letters, science of words, basically. Sorry, science of letters. Okay, where from each of the letters come, how to pronounce a particular letter, and all that. That's the science of letters. The second one is Vyakaranam, which is science of words, right? Then the third one is Niruktam, which is a science of the deeper meaning of the words. Then the fourth is Kalpam, which is the right application of the words. Okay, a word can mean different things in different things. How do you apply what in a particular sentence? That's the fourth one. Fifth one is Jyotisham. So when to do what type of karma? Okay, so because Vedas are basically nothing but a set of chants for different deities and all that stuff, right? So if you're supposed to do a particular karma, you need to have a proper arrangement of the stars, if I can use that word, okay, to do it in the right way. Otherwise, it's like a tailwind or the headwind kind of a concept, right? You can get either tailwinds or headwinds out of the particular time. So Jyotisha is a fifth one. The sixth one is Chandas. You got to pronounce it in the right way. For example, Gayatri Mantra, it says Tatsa Vitur Varenyam. There's two lines on the top, right? You cannot say Tatsa Vitur Varenyam. You cannot say that. That's incorrect. Okay, you have to say Tatsa Vitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. We have to say that. So when you say that comes to a particular meter. Okay, and only then the sound creates that particular, if I were to use the Raja Yoga's analogy, it creates that right vibrations within yourself to start attuning yourself to the Brahman.
Yeah, and just repeat the third part. You said Niruptam is actually deep meaning, you said.
The science of deeper meaning of the words.
Deeper meaning. And then right application, where to do, what to do, and then Chandas is your last right?
meter. How do you, in what meter you chant these shlokas? For example, Gita, for example, is in Anushtup Chanda. Okay, and Gita is actually, doesn't have any mantras specifically. Mantras means basically you will have that three swaras, right? Anudata, Udata, Swarita. So only those ones with swaras are known as mantras typically. But Gita is in Anushtup Chandas, but Gayatri Mantra is in Gayatri Chandas.
Okay. Thanks. And
Tripada is Pada is phrase. Okay. Om
Pada is?
Bhurbuva is one phrase.
Phrase, okay.
Tatsa Vitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi.
Yeah, I understood.
Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Yeah. And now
there is
I'll
some
go back to ask
explanation
my,
of the 24 syllables. Huh?
Yeah.
I mean, there is some linkage I've read. I'll just try and get it if I can. Okay.
Please do. I'd love to get that. So I'll go back and ask my first question, right? The poll question that we asked. So what is the answer now?
Actually, Rajesh, it depends upon what stage of evolution you are, I think.
Exactly.
When you show that.
You're right.
Yeah.
So
because
but that's the point. The point is,
Yeah.
I don't think that we can say that we are praying to a particular feminine form or a masculine form of the God, because you're actually, you don't know.
Whether you're playing to Nirgun or Rasagun or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Understood. Wonderful. Excellent.
So
And
on the
hats
last
off,
slide,
Rajesh, hats off to you for practicing it. Just to add to what Ajay is saying, I think when we do Sandhyavandanam, we do it in maybe 15-20 minutes, or maybe a little that. The very fact that he's doing it for 60 minutes or 75 minutes just tells you how deeper he's getting into the process. Yeah. All the best, Rajesh. Yeah.
Thank you.
so on the last slide, Rajesh, I remember reading direct, indirect, and then nirguna or something, right?
Yeah.
So what is the differentiation? I mean, direct and indirect.
So the way that I shared that thing was, let me just bring that slide back, right? So you progress, you progress from physical symbol of Brahman, which is the sun god, that you can see, you can feel, okay, to concept that you cannot see, but you have a concept. That is indirect Brahman, okay, which is instantiated within your heart. And then you progress to Shabda, okay. Then there is no symbol here. This is also a symbol. But here, of course, Om is a symbol, but then that Om is just a Shabda, okay. And that Shabda is so closest to space because, space and sound are related, right? We know that. And then that means you're progressing slowly towards space. So Omkara meditation is very hard for many people because of this reason, okay. We need an anchor to meditate. We need a symbol. That's why, Saguna meditation is very good. Meditation on a form of Krishna, Rama. It's very easy to do it relatively compared to meditating on sound. How can you sit down and say Om and expect something to, come up as a realization for you? Unless until you really mature enough at that stage to do it. But you go back the reverse. It's very easy to acknowledge the great powers, what a direct physical form of, a supreme principle like sun god is, right? You know that, the sun is this giver of energy. You know that for sure. Therefore, you praying that particular god is very easy. But it's a little hard. You go put a picture of a god or a statue of a god. Then suddenly it becomes a little difficult unless the mind is a little evolved. I mean, what is this picture? It's just a picture. But what I'm subtle difficulties that way.
I mean, I get the last one, but I'm still struggling with the first three, as in what is direct Brahman, for example.
So
I mean,
this is
how is direct and indirect and sadhana? I mean, sadhana is like the sun god, or sun, which is also a
no. The way that you need to read this is the sadhana will slowly lead the sadhak from moving from acknowledging the Brahman in the vast cosmos in direct physical form. Okay, so you will start seeing rivers as Brahman, you'll start seeing people as Brahman and all that stuff that you can touch and feel. But you will also start moving beyond that, because now you're slowly trying to realize the Brahman within your own self. Okay, as although it's a concept at this point of time which you don't know, but because Vedas are saying so, but it is not yet your reality, you'll start practicing that. That is an indirect Brahman, because there is nothing, you can visualize this picture in any form that you want. Okay, not necessarily being anchored by this picture here or any other picture that you pick up from Google Images. But then that is also not okay, because then you'll have to move forward to the next stage, which says that Om it ekaksharam Brahma. Okay, Om alone is Brahman. That's what our scriptures say. But then that is also a symbol for you. But still you're anchoring yourself. Then there is Om. Then there is somebody else who is meditating on the Om. These have to get dissolved. The meditator, the meditation process, and the object of meditation has to all become submerged. Then you get to this stage here, which is nothing, or which is everything, whichever way that you look at it.
Okay,
So it's a progress. It's a progress.
Yeah, I got it. I think that's very
Hey,
helpful.
this is a
Thank you.
beautiful visual, Guntax. Thank you. I might steal it a little bit.
Welcome.
Hey, I had one last question, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so when you're doing this 3 times a day, Sandhya, during the Sandhya time and everything, right? Do you actually, I mean, this is a question to you, but I guess to anyone that's regularly doing it, do you actually, can you see yourself transforming after you found out these deeper meanings behind all the verses, and how has that experience transformed?
No, that's a beautiful question, Guns. And in fact, if I were not to listen to Swami P's and those other lectures, this wouldn't have had any meaning for me at all.
Yeah.
I would have probably, done a what do you call it, cursory reading of what it is, and then followed it like a ritual, meaningless ritual that I'm supposed to be doing because ancestors have been doing it and all that stuff. But now it's got a deeper meaning. So there's a drive within myself to do it. So that way, it makes me wake up early, for example.
Yeah. That yeah, I like the real ending there. It makes you wake up early.
Yeah.
That sounds like a knock on my head also. But it's great. Thank you.
I think I'll just add to that, Gunds. See, even as a child, when we were asked to do this, I think the experience was definitely something that we went through as a very different feeling, because irrespective of whether I understood the mantras or the chantings, etc., the very fact that you're getting into the process and doing certain activities in a certain way tends to calm your mind and get your mind a bit more focused. I definitely felt, even though I didn't understand the meanings of those when I did it during the time I did it, and I did it diligently, I think I really benefited from that. Okay, that's point number one. Having said that, when you actually try and understand the meaning behind the whole thing, I think you get, transform yourself from just knowing to being, right? I think that's exactly what Rajesh is trying to say. And I'm really, in awe of the fact that, one is able to, dedicate this and do it religiously for, a good 60, 75 minutes, I think. I think that's the shift. But nevertheless, I think even when you're young, if somebody was to get this Janevu done and you go through the rituals, I think it will definitely have a positive impact on the way you conduct yourself, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely true. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I think we have. I'm going to stop the recording now.